Diddy's silence, a strategic move in a high-stakes legal battle. As Sean Diddy Combs faces a pivotal moment in his ongoing federal trial, the decision not to testify in his own defense is proving to be a critical strategic move. With the prosecution preparing to rest its case after weeks of testimony, mounting evidence, and a barrage of witnesses, the music mogul and his legal team have opted for silence, a decision that could ultimately shape the outcome of the case. According to People magazine, Combs' defense team has no intention of calling any witnesses once the government concludes its presentation of evidence. This marks a turning point in the high-profile trial, which has captivated public attention due to the serious nature of the charges: sex trafficking, racketeering, and prostitution-related offenses. Combs has pleaded not guilty to all charges. Former federal prosecutor Mark D. Chutkow believes this move is not only deliberate but also smart. It would be a big gamble for Diddy to take the stand, Chutkow told People. While it might seem counterintuitive for a defendant to not defend themselves directly in court, Chutkow explains that the decision is rooted in legal pragmatism and strategy. The prosecution, according to Chutkow, has introduced what he calls a mountain of evidence against Combs. If the artist were to take the stand, he would open himself up to an aggressive cross-examination where the prosecution could introduce even more damaging information, potentially unrelated but admissible acts that paint a damning picture of his character and past behavior. In essence, testifying could do far more harm than good. In high-stakes federal cases like this, silence is often a tactical advantage. The burden of proof lies with the government, and the defense is not obligated to prove innocence, only to highlight flaws, inconsistencies, or gaps in the prosecution's case that create reasonable doubt. This concept of reasonable doubt is the cornerstone of the American criminal justice system and a powerful tool for defense attorneys. Chutkow elaborates on this point by explaining that Combs' team has likely already achieved some of their objectives through the cross-examination of prosecution witnesses. By not putting on a defense case, the defense is saying, "We've poked enough holes in the prosecution's story that you can't convict beyond a reasonable doubt," he said. In fact, putting on a defense case can sometimes be a risky proposition. If a defense case is weak, disjointed, or lacks credibility, it can backfire spectacularly. As Chutkow notes, if Diddy were to put on a defense case and it fell flat, he might put himself in a worse position. The defense might inadvertently validate the prosecution's narrative or introduce new elements that can be twisted against them. This less is more approach is a well-known strategy in criminal defense circles, especially in cases where the prosecution's narrative is already under scrutiny. The defense might be betting that jurors are already skeptical enough of the prosecution's evidence and that introducing new testimony, particularly from Combs himself, might muddy the waters or risk alienating the jury. Still, the optics of silence can be powerful and polarizing. In the court of public opinion, refusing to testify can be interpreted as evasiveness or guilt. However, in a courtroom governed by strict rules of evidence and procedure, silence can be a powerful form of resistance. It's a reminder that the right to remain silent is not just a legal formality, it is a cornerstone of the American legal system, designed to protect individuals from self-incrimination. As closing arguments are expected to begin Thursday and jury deliberations may start as early as Friday, June 27, the case now rests largely on how well the defense has dismantled the prosecution's narrative and whether the jury believes the government has met its high burden of proof. Combs' legal team is expected to focus heavily on inconsistencies in witness testimonies and the lack of direct evidence tying Combs to specific illegal acts. They will likely argue that the prosecution's case is based on circumstantial evidence and character attacks, rather than hard facts that prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. On the other side, the prosecution will aim to tie all the testimonies and pieces of evidence into a coherent and compelling story of systematic abuse, coercion, and criminal enterprise. They may argue that Combs' silence in court, while legally permissible, is telling in light of the serious accusations and the lives allegedly affected by his actions. Regardless of the outcome, this trial represents a significant moment not only for Combs but also for the larger conversation around accountability in the entertainment industry. The charges are among the most serious faced by a public figure in recent years, and the implications of a conviction, or acquittal, could ripple throughout Hollywood and beyond. For now, all eyes remain on the courtroom as the trial nears its conclusion. Whether Combs' strategy of silence proves to be genius or folly will soon be determined by a jury of his peers.